Yeah, and nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, colleagues, I see a little bit of power battery going on towards the back of the room. Can I just find a little hole to plug into? Can you find better? Find every better. Very good. Can I speak about how I'm looking at sort of so there are some power points on the back pillars and the posts provided these type of things. So if you at any point need to charge devices, genuinely not fear of losing power. This and I've got an electric car, we both have an idea. So it's the same with laptops, so do make sure you charge when you need to. Depends on how you're taking their one. You don't necessarily need laptops a lot. There's a period when they're actually taking 360 review out of it, station. It's pretty much that in your head anyway, so it's really have a look. So, but it depends, again, depends how you take it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Wokefield States. It's a bit posh, it's really nice. But we don't hang around these but it's really nice to have you here. And of course you're all here for 2 days. So we've got hopefully a fairly well no there's no hoping it. You've got a fairly intensive 2 days from kind of learning, reflection, thinking perspective. But also a bit more of a relaxed 2 days in where we'll have some nice breaks, we'll have a posh lunch, which I know you never get. You'll actually sit down and talk at lunch. You got warm anything or yeah, all that sort of fight for milk. So we've got a lovely lunch, we've got a really lovely evening meal, you've got a nice hotel room to stay in, and then of course we've got a whole day again tomorrow at small concept as well, which is great. So hopefully a really lovely experience for you all. And you will already be noticing there are people in the room we've never met before. And so we will during the couple of days give you a bit of an opportunity to get out and sort of new colleagues. Particularly tomorrow there'll be a bit more most of the time. For those I've not met, I'm James. We'll do more formal introductions shortly, so I've got a slide for that. And just to be clear, this is recording on Teams, and this little thing here is an owl, and that's you can't see it, but that's recording kind of various bits of the room as well. So it's not like kind of live TV health warning thing, but this is going to go on a recording. So if colleagues weren't able to attend or he wants to re-watch the content, this will be stored on YouTube as an unlisted video. Only people can find it. And it'll be a bit of a recap of the 2 days as well. I've actually put on one of these really smooth, really high quality name badge stickers that'll be pulling off by about 10 o'clock. So if you can do that, that'll be good. That'll be useful for you individually, but also be useful for us as well. And also Richard, who's our filmographer, the back video. Yeah, he's going to be capturing some kind of what we call B-roll images during the day, just so Orange Training use that part of their promotional materials. And I want to just do a warm welcome to all of you, particularly our new colleagues. Again, it's the plans for those that it's their first face-to-face engagement in this training course. Very warm welcome. The rest of you thinking. So what's happened is Orange Moon have recruited 2 cohorts that are going to be folded into a single quad. And so for you, it's your first engagement with us as a group of facilitators, so not inspiring leaders. But you've already engaged in the pastoral session, various of its pods. And for the rest of you, your existing cohort, so this is your second one, you've been through the first assessment, so hopefully congratulations on that. I hope it wasn't too painful, and no doubt cohort 1 will be asking you all about it, so they can find out how to pass that first assessment as well. Yeah, and just a big welcome to you all. We will, like I say, we'll come on to it a little bit later. I think, personally, I think it's a really special 2 days. It's going to be one of our guest facilitators we've been talking with this morning. Sonia's going to be working with us on your Discovery Insight profile, so you'll all complete that ahead of attending today. And I think that's going to be a really enlightening session. And the whole of the afternoon pretty much is split to that as well. just to give a really strong insight to kind of who you are as a manager, as a leader, what your preferences look like, what that means in relation to you and the rest of people you work with and live with. Because you might start to notice things about your family and friends, and then perhaps didn't know already, which is interesting. In terms of what you should have done ahead of today, so for those that are on existing cohorts, I'm not going to keep doing this, but those that are on existing cohorts, you'll have completed your module 2, which was the leading improvement module that we've talked to you already, and you'll have finalised through that. All of you should have engaged in e-learning that was designed by Summit, so all of you should have access to that. You should have all completed your 360 review, just to check that that's the case. So you've done that, you've done your reflective 600 to 700 words on what you've learned by yourself. We'll come on to that a little bit later. And you should have all completed the Discovery Insights link, which Liz and Amy also have as well. So they're kind of part of that section with you. I did mine a couple of years ago, so I'm going to use my own, although I'm consultant some more. Anyway, so that's where we are. Session's been recorded both from a videographer and from Teams. Just wanted to flag that for the time. And just a couple of extra notes that I've put on the board here. There is Wi-Fi and it's free. I mean, we pay for Wi-Fi these days, but it is free. So there's a kind of a conference open Wi-Fi if you want to access it yourself. There is no planned fire alarm, so I get all the best jobs. That's a fire exit. I think we're pretty clear about that. It's got green signs everywhere. So you can either be at the back or at the front, depending on where we are. So we're free and just head out to the venue. There are toilets next to coffee stations if you didn't see them already. They've got the best. They've got the best hand cream, in my opinion, in the world. I stayed at a super posh hotel last year. I didn't pay for it, so it invited me. It's great. And then that hand cream in the hotel, like, smells amazing. And I'm come today. I'm so excited. We've got it here as well. Ken Halligan's Healthetti is cracking. So that's in there as well. If you enjoy hand creams. Very much the focus here is relax and learn today, and tomorrow as well. This is the beginning of a new cohort for you. It's the beginning of a new course for some of you. It's kind of the first proper formal get together for all of you as a whole cohort or 2 cohorts as well. And I'll talk a bit more about this later. But there's a real, I think, quite rarely in your world are there opportunities for you to get to know each other, to celebrate, highs and lows with each other. You're going to work together now about the next 18 to 20 months. And you'll all be going through the same pain points. You'll all be going through the celebratory points. And I think, therefore, I would encourage you to invest time in getting to know people as we go through the first 2 days. And I'm not going to say it again, written on board, seconds being recorded. So, a little bit of a sentiment that sits behind that then. So Simon Sinek, who we referenced in our first delivery sessions, but, beautiful quote here. Life is beautiful, not because of the things that we do or see, but it's beautiful for the people that we meet. And all of you are qualified teachers, as I understand, or have done formal qualifications to be here, whether it's a degree or otherwise. And you will know that you have, hopefully, sustained relationships with those people that you go through those really intense periods of learning with. And not to stress the points you haven't, but this is an intense period of learning over the next 18 to 20 months. And so I'm really hoping that you get to know each other really well. Speaking from my own experience, I've shared this with cohort 1, but cohort 2 colleagues. I've just passed through the I did it. I'm distinguished. But I'm 2 years in front of you all, so I've just been through the level 7 apprenticeship at a local university where we are based. And the cohort is probably the main reason we keep getting back. We really, really like each other now, and we, the WhatsApp group goes, it's just brilliant. And there's lots of bands that sort of how do you who's doing this, what's doing, how do you respond to this? And there's loads of background conversation with coffee beans and all that sort of stuff. And I think hopefully you can create a special bond, even though you're all from slightly different backgrounds, locations. It's relevant. All of such more places these days. So please do invest in getting to know people, and please don't stick to the people that you spend most of your time on a daily basis, because that's great, and you'll still see each other on Monday. But go and spend some time getting to know the people over the next few days. That'd be great. Okay, let's do some introductions to the workshop. So I've mentioned who I am. It's a weird slide. So I'm James. I've got a new headshot now. We had some new headshots a few weeks ago, although I've definitely put weight on since that one. So I'm managing director of Discovery. I'm managing director of Inspire Leads. We're a not-for-profit school partnership, MAP partnership, basically Midlands. We train teachers as we're an outstanding skit. We've got 130 trainees on roll. And Inspiring Leaders also has a partnership with 22 academy trusts that work together in a big knowledge exchange community. In addition to that, we do all sorts of other kind of interesting things, like we do study tours to different countries and parts of the UK to learn and practice. We do commissions, pieces of work like this, we work with our engineering training. We run benchmarking work and kind of all sorts of things, kind of sports. Prior to that, I was deputy CEO and the Academy Trust, which I was at for 9 years. And I was also teaching school alliance director in that time. Yeah, prior to that, you can go to work. I started working in a kind of an extended services, kind of very much kind of school community based role in a super private partner institute. So yeah, so that's me. It's my background. There's much more to it. Clearly, describe myself in just 9 seconds. But I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today. And as mentioned before, I've just passed through the level 7 senior leadership apprenticeship. My qualification is delivered through university, so I'm topping up to my MBA, which starts in a few weeks' time. And yeah, I've got therefore lots of kind of war wounds to have shown, and also lots of experiences that have really got behind this process. And it's an absolute privilege to be able to sort of teach this on, because there are lots of things I think sort of really useful. There's lots of things that I just think noise. So we're trying our best here to give you the most valuable parts to be able to perform your development in the future. So that's me. I'm also joined by Liz. Liz, would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah. So I'm Liz Anderson. My background is 10 years in industry before I felt full of education. So I've been teacher, head teacher, and then CEO of the Multi-Academy Trust. And I formed a trust with, it was a primary, I was head of the primary, there's the primary and a secondary in the centre of Nottingham. And it was right back at the very beginning of the academisation, 2011, like a very long time ago. And that was an interesting one because the primary was a non-primary and the secondary wasn't. And so when we tried to form that as a multi-academy trust, the DFE went, no, you can't do that because the secondary can't onto the primary. And we went, no, you're not understanding it. It's the other way around. That blew their minds. So it took a little bit of time to convince them that a strong primary could bring the strength to a secondary. We got there in the end. I'm a bit tenacious, so I don't let go of things. Stubborn. We got there in the end, and then through the trust to 9 schools in Nottingham and Derbyshire. But all of the schools, the one thing they had in common is they all serve very disadvantaged areas. So yeah, I don't like to take the easy route. So did that, which was I absolutely loved. But then had a big birthday and decided it was time for a fresh adventure. So now I work with Inspiring Leaders. I'm actually chair of the trustees at Inspiring Leaders. I do some consultancy work. I've done some work for the DFE. I'm a national, under the old designation, the National League of Education. So I do that, and then don't hate me. I also, for the first time in 30 years, take term time holidays. We'll get there in the end. You can see how but I'm really enjoying being part of this organisation. I think moving forward, I'm going to be working more with the East London and Isles cohort. But at the moment, I've had the pleasure of meeting the Bristol cohort and more at the last session. So I'm really looking forward to these 2 days. As James said, Amy and I are in your shoes. We've done the discovery insights as well. So we did the bizarre questions where you think, out of this, they know it's really clever. So if you're a little bit anxious about that, Amy and I are with you on that one. We're all going to bare our souls as part of that session. So we're learners as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. And then Graham, clearly this is not Graham. Hi, Graham. Graham, Graham, he's joining us this evening. So Graham is currently acting as partnership manager for the National Society of Education, so Church of England. So he's at the national conference today in London, and will be joining us this evening after dinner, kind of later on in dinner, and then joining us tomorrow. And of course, Amy, who is here, great picture. Yes. Do you want to just introduce yourself to the group?
Yes, and I will be wearing that cardigan to dinner later as well. So I do have other outfits. I'm Amy Storer. I'm a mummy to an 8-year-old. I'm a teacher, and then I was a substantive head of a really large Islamic primary school up in Derby for 6 years. And now I have a fancy title. I'm called an executive leader, which just means that I get to work across different organisations, still doing a very similar role. So part of my work is doing professional learning, such as this. And then the other part of my work is I'm an exec head of an all phase CMH school up in the Eastern. So I am fully, if you're sitting there in the messiness of this work thinking, I did a temporary exclusion on Tuesday. You've got all of that going through your head. And I can totally empathise with the busyness of the roles that we do as senior leaders who are in the most incredible position of sitting between classroom practice and strategic development. And that comes with it loads of opportunity, but my gosh, does it come with it a lot of extra thinking and at times wobbles about certain things. So I'm fully in the trenches with you in that respect. I care deeply about professional learning, really deeply, because if we really want our children and young people to thrive in our settings, then the biggest powerful tool that we have at our disposal is investing in our staff and our workforce. And so it is really, really refreshing to be working with a group of peers of other senior leaders who have been gifted, and I use that word deliberately, some real space to do this work, because you cannot do this in an hour on a Thursday after you've just done detention or whatever. So I'm really, really delighted that we've got the space to properly talk about the things that need talking about and build those networks with one another. And I am equally anxious about the Discovery Insights session. I'm all ready to try and be quite defensive about it and say that it's wrong. But I'm sure it'll be really enlightening, and that's absolutely not the approach that we want to take. But thank you for making us feel so welcome. It's lovely to have some initial conversations with people over coffee.
Thank you. And we both have cognitive space, physical space. So tell them that's it. I've not even seen this building when I arrived today, and we're in it. Huge. It may well be that you're housed in this building. You're staying here. You're accommodated in this building, but it also might be that you're accommodated in the building. I would encourage you during that. We've got definitely got breaks kind of between finishing today and then dinner. Go and have a wander. I know it's not the nicest weather. We did say it'd be great for summer, but then for summer I've been playing golf, so that.
I am reliably informed by Sonia, who's leading the Discovery Insights, who stayed here last night, that they do have little golf carts and they'll take you between buildings. So I do think we have to take advantage of that. Just for the
quite loose though, anyway. So yeah, try and get a golf cart. Somebody who has, there are leisure facilities full of it, like it's full of. But it's that's made it to use, and yeah, it's a nice place to be. There's lots of little breakout spaces, clubbies, that sort of thing. So yeah, you've been treated to it, so enjoy it. Make most of it. Other colleagues joining us. We've got colleagues who want to just say hello. We've got Andrea, Trish, and Sunil, all from Orange Moon Training. Tell us who you are, what you do. If people haven't met you, I think most of them met you, but if they haven't,
Absolutely. Well, no, my name's Andy Surveys. I've met most of you within the first reviews, and I'm the person that will keep that what's that?
thank you, Trish, who is part Orange Moon, part Futura.
Yeah, I'm kind of a hybrid of the two. So I'm working for Futura. Obviously, I'm part of Futura, but I'm seconded by Orange Moon to support all the training. So I'm the apprenticeship delivery manager for Futura in Orange Moon, and queries.
Super. Sunil?
Hi there, everybody. Good morning. I think some of you probably met me online for some of our group coaching sessions. I'm Sunil McRae, accredited executive coach. I'm also a leadership and management trainer as well. And I also happen to be an endpoint assessor. So that person who will be at the end of your apprenticeship journey, who will be listening to your presentations and engaging in the follow-up question and answer session, and then also conducting your portfolio-based professional discussions as well. So I very much have the end in mind, but I'm also a skills coach working with apprentices on their own individual bespoke journeys. And it is an individual leadership journey that you are on, but you're also representing the collective as well. And so I look forward, if I haven't worked with you previously, I look forward to working with you on the group workshops. And obviously I'll be leading as much as I can from the workshop, whether we're face to face or on videos. And then be bringing in some of the insights and see how we can marshal them together, see how they're relevant in your context, bring a little bit of a endpoint assessment kind of an overlay to it as well. And also to give you some support with the actual, the actual assignments as well as the insights and things like that. And thank you very much for those who've done your assignments. They've all been marked and feedback. They should all be there on assessment, evidence, or something like that. So so I'm here, one professional. Thank you very much.
Anyone will get started. Regarding the endpoint assessment, certainly would. If one needs still doing your endpoint assessment, you would need to declare a conflict of interest. But this is evidence that they are all really lovely people. It does feel like a conversation, albeit a very long one, quite a stressful one. But anyway, come on to that a little bit next time, like. We'll also be doing, so Miles has been here, you might have seen him, right, his car broke down on the way yesterday. Spark plug issue. So he's just nipped out to the garage just to move back. We'll be with us until this evening. And then we're going to be joined by Barrington. We're also going to be joined by Gary, AD and Smara, the Jewish dinner. So dinner was quite big and hopefully very special. Anyway, intro's done. Your turn to introduce yourself. So we're going to do literally 2 minutes talk partners or partner. Just literally you're in free, so you're going to talk trio. Just literally a minute each. Who are you, where you're from, etc. If you know each other really well, maybe join a different table and just go and say hello to someone else. That might be a nice thing to do. So let's have. If you need to get up, you move around, get up, move around. But just a minute each. Who you are and what you do. That'd be great. Over to you. Go, 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 go. Move around. Get some energy in the room.
She's able to find she so good to meet by doing conference. The reason I started this was because I like to feel directly like probably it's doing by training very much. I find that I like that. Yeah, I've been found to the Israelites, just no. Some one me. So one it happens something that is exactly it's I'm fine. Often that's on the system. I just want to.
I think that's the little drive. Very happy. But you're stuff. From patient. Maybe from 7. It's a little bit. It'll be just. It's be fine. They can run.
And so, you know, that's really right.
Okay, well.
And I've got the medicine shop.
Okay, thanks everybody. Just a moment to take seats. Make sure you're comfortable, make sure that you're in a position where you can see and not sway, that's really important. Why do we do something like that? Well, we do it for several reasons. One thing is because it's really important that we know and are able to make connections with other people in the room to build those, hopefully, ongoing relationships that will extend beyond this programme. That's number one. We also do it linked to psychological safety. We're really good in education, and I mean really good at transition. We talk about it all the time, don't we? But considering trying to great at it. The bit that we often maybe think about less is the power of the pause that happens before a transition and then happens after transition. So transition is the movement part. What we need to do and think more about collectively is a pause out. What James has done is he's designed this part of the morning to include moments of pause. That was not there. It's important because if we are task switching from one thing to another, that increases demand, whether it's cognitive demand, emotional demand, whatever the demand, increases demand. And if we're increasing demand and we keep increasing demand, at some part we'll pop. For some of us, that will be where I work, that will be explosive. For others, it will be I need to go to the toilet, or I can't do that, or you'll experience those behaviours. Just because we're adults doesn't mean that we don't have to. We do. Just get better at being able to work. And also, if we're over the age of 25, our prefrontal cortex is fully developed. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but we've got more chance of being able to regulate. So this is when we talk about inclusion by design, professional learning by design. That's a really nice example of what we mean by that. It's a pause before we move into the next part of the content, which is about psychological safety. We're building on those schemas, we're encoding this new learning into our brain. Psychological safety. There will be at least 4 people in this room who have just done an eye roll. Whether that's outwardly or just internally, there will be an eye roll because there are misconceptions, there are preconceptions, there are people who will dismiss this as being important, and we get that. In a group this size, usually about 4 at times. And I understand why, because sometimes this is hard to measure. Can't necessarily just show a predictable graph that talks about the impact of psychological safety. There are also organisations that will achieve success regardless of this. Our sort of challenge and our provocation is, yes, there are organisations that don't value this as much as we believe they also do. But imagine what those organisations would be able to do if they did start to prioritise. And as senior leaders in this room, you're going to be looking at this in 2 ways. You're going to be thinking about psychological safety for us over the next 2 days. How we're going to create space where we are able to challenge, dive into stuff, feel comfortable, grapple with things that provoke. And you're going to be thinking about your responsibility back in your school and how you create and nurture and sustain psychological safety. The biggest commentator on this is a woman called Amy Edmondson. And I don't know about you, but a visual really helps me in terms of cognitive demand and understanding. And she talked about 4 levels of psychological safety. It's a little bit like Maslow, which is one of the leadership models we're going to be exploring tomorrow. And essentially, a team starts at the bottom in this idea of being included. And some of the affirmations that may be flying around at that stage are, I belong here, I feel welcome. Once that is established and created and people feel comfortable with that, then the next layer becomes more pertinent, and so on and so on. The highest performing teams are operating in challenging and in contributing. Contributing meaning I add value here, I'm contributing to something, I am needed, I am a big part in this team, in this space. Challenging is I can actually feel safe enough to suggest alternatives, to say, I disagree with you. And that is our endeavour, that's our ambition over the next 2 days and for the remainder of the course. And we're going to design the learning and the learning spaces to try and encourage this so that the message that we're giving you is matched by the ways we're giving that message. Fancy term, the modality, that's the way we deliver it. And we really are trying to be careful and intentional to make sure that what we say is beautifully matched to how we say it, which is obviously what you are all doing in your schools as well. Why is this important? Well, it's important because if we don't achieve a state of psychological safety, then we won't have members of staff who are prepared to be innovative, to try things, to do things differently, to come in and at times challenge the status quo. We'll have ineffective decision making. We'll have fractions within the workforce. If we do it, we get agility, we get creativity, we get innovation. We get people who, God forbid, enjoy being at school, enjoy the work, are fulfilled by the work. And if you're thinking about staff retention, if you're thinking about your team, we want to keep good people. Sorry, I don't know what that
Sorry, I watched my phone on silent, but it came through on my laptop.
Thank you, as long as I'm sure. Right, I think that's a sign from God. So we've done, thank you. So it's about just saying, are we safe to just do this one thing right now? So I would argue it's just as important as the physical safety. When James pointed out, if we've got a fire, we're going out that way. So what we'll try and do, and we really are intentional about it, is narrate at different points throughout the 2 days what decision makings have happened to help to promote this. So we try to make it really interesting. Because if you're responsible for professional learning within your space, these are sort of the tools that you'll be able to take back and implement there as well. Super stuff. Okay. Right. Linked to that then is an idea of contracting. That is where we, as a newly formed group, some people we know well, some people we've never met before, we start to establish some expectations and some requests of one another to make sure that we maximise our time together. We haven't got time to start dancing around whether or not I can feel comfortable to show up in my true authentic self. We don't have that luxury here. So what we do is we spend time deliberately at the start of a piece of work together to establish how am I going to show up in this space, and actually what am I requesting for you to show up in this space, so that we can actually both or really get something out of it. And there's a cringe moment at the start of this video from Shape Harm where he talks about me. I don't know how to cut it, so he's got to stay in there, but excusing that.
No money changed hands.
No money changed hands. No money changed hands. But after that bit, he's got some really important stuff to say. Because we are a group of leaders, we are motivated often by the same thing, but that might look different. We come with a range of different stories, we come with a range of different intentions. And it would be remiss of us to not take a moment to pause, to establish some ground, but also just to hear from someone who's not in the group some of the really important stuff that will be applicable to all of us, but I know will be particularly special to our clients. So he has got 5.5 minutes ish. He's got a beautiful voice. He filmed this having just got back from Umbra, just got back from Medina in his living room, and he is very apologetic that his beard isn't as groomed as it normally would be. But let's not judge him for that, and let's take a moment to really listen to what he's got to say to set the scene for all of us over the next 2 days.
So, and bring less work in fields and really management and mentorship and leadership. Really great incredible people that have come together. Purpose of serving the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, serving humanity, serving the creation even further than just human beings. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has naturally granted human beings the position of leadership. The Prophet, peace be upon him, tells us in the hadith, which is agreed upon, that kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyyatihi. Every one of you is a shepherd and every one of you is responsible for your flock. So we know that leadership is inherent within us, and this is a quality which some people really focus on and they really hone and they really develop and they are able to use it to bring about immense good for humanity. We know that we're in a very difficult world right now, there are many challenges, but there's always a silver lining. And we see from the example of great people before us and great leaders that they were forged in difficult times and they came to the fore in difficult situations. They led people out from many critical and difficult situations. And the field of education is one of the greatest transformation for this world. It is the actual way that Allah chose to transform humanity through prophets, through books, through their teachings, and through the exchange of knowledge and experience. And so really in this conference, I would really advise you all that you make the most of this incredible time. You have a blessed opportunity to learn from one another. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, that help one another and assist one another in doing good deeds and having God consciousness, and do not assist one another in sin and in enmity. And so this is a time of unity. This is a time where people of different walks of life, different genders, different social classes are coming together, different experiences, different learning pathways, and you can really exchange some incredible learning here that can accelerate and improve all of your practice when you go back to your communities and the people that you serve. Leadership in Islam is a humbling place. The model of the Prophet is servant leadership. He led through serving others. He benefited others more than he took benefit from them. And he did more than he commanded his followers to do. He prayed more than us and fasted more than us. He gave more in charity than us. Peace and blessings be upon him. And so really this is a place of greatness and a position of us all giving to others and helping others. I've really advised three things: that for great leadership, there needs to be knowledge, there needs to be research, it must be grounded in knowledge, and secondly, in experience, that you learn from other people, you learn from great leaders, you learn from their achievements, their mistakes, you learn from their teachings that will accelerate you incredibly. And thirdly, and most importantly, is intention, that our actions must be grounded in great lofty intentions. We shouldn't just intend the people that we are serving, but we should be far more encompassing in our intentions, intend the world, intend the universe, because as human beings, we have an impact on the things that are lost. So it could be the people that we serve, it could be that one student, or it could be all of the students that go on to become great human beings, that are beacons of light and carriers of the torch of guidance in the next generation. And how much are we desperately in need of such great individuals? So I'm really excited for you, and I really hope that you can all come together and you can really focus and really bring to heart and mind all of the people that you're serving. You are not sat there representing yourself, but you are individuals who are carrying the aspirations and the hopes and the potentials of all of the people that you serve within your communities. And so we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us, Allah bless us all the facilitators, all of the participants that are there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of the people behind the scenes that have allowed you to come together, the people that are covering your lessons or arranging your diaries, the hotel staff, everybody that has facilitated this journey and this conference in any way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them, bless them, give them great openings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give expansive hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give clarity of thought and mind, focus. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you pious actions that come forth from this, that are a means of great blessings for you in this world and in the hereafter, and a means of great transformation for humanity. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wow. Now, for some of you, that will feel really comfortable. You'll understand every single bit of that. You'll understand the bits in English. You'll understand the bits in Arabic. For some people, you might be there thinking, whoa, I've never, ever, ever seen anything like that before. Brilliant. Part of leadership is feeling comfortable in the comfortable and starting to feel more comfortable in the stuff that is new and maybe provoking or challenging. But I don't think any of us, regardless of whether we are Islamic, whether we have any sort of religious background, or whether we are non-denominational, whatever it is, I don't think any of us would be able to argue with the sentence that in terms of setting intention today. This is about the responsibility we have as leaders. This is about the care that we have to ourselves and to the people, the grown-ups and the children within our care. And it's about coming with an open mind and coming relatively curious about those things. So thank you for your patience with that. It was really important that we started there. And if any of you want to come and have a chat over break about some of the other bits that we said, he uses words like pious. I don't know what that means. But I'm sure there'll be people here that do. And if you want to have a chat about any of the stuff that he's talked about, then he would really welcome that. But this is not at all about imposing views or thoughts on anyone. This is just about expansion and being able to take into account all of these wonderful stories that we're all bringing to this work. So thank you for your patience with that, really important. And I'm going to hand over to Liz now, who's going to continue that with our official contracting.
So it's then, an important aspect of something like a group of things like this to just talk about contracting. We're not going to talk about it in every single session, but we thought this was a really good place to talk about that. As a classroom practitioner, as a school leader, as a trust leader, I always said that I had 3 priorities for my own children and therefore 3 priorities for all of the children in my care. And that was that they feel safe, that they're happy, and that they're learning. And actually the 3 are interlinked, because if you don't feel safe, you're not happy. And if you're not happy, you're not. And I think, what I learned is actually that applies to adults as well, because when you're a classroom practitioner, you are responsible for the children in your class. But you become a leader, that responsibility changes and you become responsible more for the adults. And it's almost like, it's a bit of a scary realization that you're almost taking a slight step back from the children. But it's almost like, if I make sure the adults feel safe and are happy in their role and are learning, then they will do what I need them to do and what the children need and transfer that. So it's almost the same. We're all learners coming to education to learn. I am still learning and, excited to learn from you all today, because at everything I go to, whether I'm leading it, keynotes, workshops, whatever, I take away learning from. But the important thing is, exactly as Amy said about that psychological safety, is that we feel safe to express ourselves. There will be people here you know well. And sometimes that's a good thing, because you can speak your mind. But sometimes it may be that you feel you can't speak your mind. But what we need to know here is that everybody has that sense of safety, is enjoying themselves. So at the moment, it might be good, but is enjoying themselves and therefore takes away some real learning from this. So part of that in terms of the contracting is looking at what do we need for that. Now, Shay Baham's already talked about, that's inspiring about, can be quite scary actually, the responsibility we have as leaders. But actually, it's also really exciting. But thinking of ourselves as leaders, but then also thinking ourselves as learners. So, bit of active involvement, because it's, all the best learning is about being engaged and being active and not just sitting there going through a deck by PowerPoint I've got local authority head teachers meetings. It used to be death by PowerPoint. You went away, you went in thinking, we're all getting together. Then you went away feeling ground down by the number of PowerPoints you watched. And every single person who did a PowerPoint gave you a job. But anyway, those days are gone, hopefully. But this is a bit of active involvement. So this is when we get phones out. We have, if you scan that, what we're looking to do is think, what is it you need to feel safe?
Span and brush, I think.
Yeah, perfect, Pammy. What is it you need to feel safe, to feel that you can be your true self, you can be authentic, and you can be pushed the boundaries a bit, be a bit challenging, say things. So if you scan that on the Mentimeter, you'll get, you can put in a short sentence or a word, whatever feels you want, and hopefully when the tech, when James hit back to the tech things, we'll start to get a word, we'll start to get a plan of all those things together. And that's something, so it's not me imposing those sort of rules of engagement on you. It is absolutely what you need in order to really flourish. Not just over the next 2 days, but over the next sessions that we share together over, scarily, next year. Finished up with the dates in your diary and you're into 2027. That's really scary.
What I'll do in a moment, I'll flash up some of the results that have been shared on the screen as the answers to the questions on the Mentimeter. What we won't do now is create that groundwork now. We'll do that later this afternoon or tomorrow.
Well, I'll take that away and then reach back. But I think what we're making clear is we're not imposing rules on you. We will look at what you say you need to ensure that you have that safe space. That you enter it and therefore can really engage full on academic intelligence and emotional intelligence. I used to say to the children, I can hear your brains ticking.
Once we've sorted that last.
And you keep going if you're still going, but if not, we've got some of the things you put, hopefully you'll start to see your things there. I think, and unsurprisingly, word respect comes up a lot, respectful. It is about listening, not always going to agree. If anybody's done any work with the Patrick Lencioni, really good teams are where there are different viewpoints. And as a CEO, my right and left hand people was I had Tim on one side, who was the best at processes. He would do anything that you asked, as long as he could put it in a table or an Excel spreadsheet. And on the other side of me, I had my teaching and learning, and it's not that she thought outside the box, it was that she didn't even know the box existed. Natural, real strength, wisdom to the group. You know, I always say to teachers, when you're recruiting a deputy, don't look for your clone, look for the person that fills your gaps. So that's what we know we've got here, having met many of you before, know we've got some real diversity of thoughts, which I think is really going to bring strength within that area of safety thoughts.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. So we'll get that worked up into a ground rules, or we'll find a better phrase in practice.
Engagement.
Terms of engage. Thank you. Bringing me up.
Engagement.
Marvellous. So, what we're doing, let's get to the agenda, shall we? So we've already done kind of contracting. I'm going to go through shortly with you kind of your kind of self-braces, kind of assessing your journey, what we need to do, what the assignment looks like, etc. from here on out. And then today we're going to do a little bit of an input on leadership mindsets and modes. So Liz is going to lead a session on something that we've all actively engaged in the past, which is something called fair leadership, which is something we love, and we've got some nice videos to play with you, reflective questions, conversations we've had The glass was just here. Do you mind just signing Preston's latest where the glass was? Just so we can keep going with the same. Thank you. And then we'll be having a break after I've done this section. We'll begin the Fed stuff, and we'll begin the Discovery Insights work. So you'll get your individual reports. Sonia will come in and facilitate that. We're then going to pause for lunch. We're then going to carry on with the Discovery Insights all the way through the afternoon. So lots of content. There's a lot of you in it. There's a lot of others in it. And so it's really important that we take the time to get on that journey of self-exploration. We talked already about niche, haven't we? I talk about knowing one's self, knowing one's internal environment, knowing one's external environment. Today, very much is focused on self. And then we go for dinner later. So that's all. So we meet together at 6:30 in the 1560 suite. I said it was 1496 suite only, but it's called the 1560 suite, round the corner here. And we'll be having a group dinner tonight. There'll be a few speeches at dinner as well. And then tomorrow, I guess it changes a little bit in terms of a little bit more talk content with regard to some of the key models that we think are best serve you in your assignments. We think are useful for you to know and think about. And then in the afternoon, there'll be a kind of an open activity around organisational culture, where you'll spend 90 minutes at minimum reading some papers and just thinking around some different perspectives on organisation, which all of them tie back to your assessment, your assignment as well. So it all should stitch together really nicely. It should complement the e-learning that you're engaged in so far. But that's what the 2 days look like. Can I just say at any point, like if you've got any questions or you want to know where something is, or if you've got just questions at the break, hopefully you can tell. We're all probably like really so like just don't feel lost. It's really important. So for your assessment, we've got this kind of working model, which just reminds us of the kind of different dimensions of assessment. So the first is your witness testimonies, and they're gathered along the way. They're people's observations of your practice. They support your Bs in your KS Bs. So just to remind you to keep collecting those as you go. Your product evidence we'll come on to talk about in a moment. You should be collecting at least one piece of product evidence. I call it product evidence, work product per module. So you'll have already done that in advance of today's session. Doing well. Minutes from your coaching session, which Sunil has led, and we've been to and growing, haven't we, about kind of what might be useful and what might not be useful. We've been sharing feedback from sessions so that we get a kind of cohesive approach to those coaching sessions, and I've seen that they've been really productive so far. And of course, the big bit, which is the stretching you all out, is the kind of assignment, right? So I'll talk about that in a little while, because I'm going to share with you what the expectations are off the base. Now, timesheet, so you will know you've got to log your hours off your hours. Today counts 2 full days. You can log 17 hours, maybe 2.5 hour days on the basis today. Hopefully you know by now you can log all of your time reading and researching. You can't log is your time typing your actual assignment book, but all of the prep work and the learning work that goes around that can be logged, just not the bit that you actually start to write your assignment in total. If you've got any questions about job training, how you log it, what's in, what's out of scope, the team are here to be able to help you with that, experts in the room. And there are some really important things on that. I always say this, and I'll continue to say it. This is the bit that enables the provider to draw down your funding. This is the bit that enables you to speak to clients. If you're not logging your job hours, you will get a little email that goes, what do you log out? Because they need to know that you're engaged, and in order to be able to draw down the funding to make things like the standard. So really important. Hopefully you're all kind of in the rhythm of that already. And if you're not, please do talk to the team. Your endpoint assessment. Now, just a little word on this. I mentioned earlier that I have just passed through this. I'm not going to talk to you chapter and verse. I can talk to you more about this in more detail if you're interested in the experience. What I would say is from my own experience, this 2-day experience, this 2-day kind of learning box we're going to have here, I think is absolutely fundamental to your own voice. I hope this will support that, because today is about knowing you and your leadership. And in your EPA, your questions will be about you and your leadership of a strategic change project. And so I don't think I appreciated that quite as fully as I do now, being walked through the process. The iterative nature of some of the questions that are asked, the depth in which you have to go back to about how did you lead, how did you how did you deliver that change, how did you use your negotiation skills, how did you use this, how did you use that? And actually most of that comes from knowing who you are, like knowing about your practice and being able to sell observe that and know that this is something you've chosen and elected to do. And that's why the Discovery Insights profiles are so good, because what you will do today, you'll have a look at what your blind spots might be, what your strengths might be, etc. I went through mine again just a couple of days ago with my child's orange first hit. I just sat and said, you know what, I'll do that, change. And I've been through it and I can see ways in which I've made loads of progress. I can also see some ways in which I've ignored some things. But I can definitely see the improvement in my leadership over that period of time. So I will talk to you if anyone wants to know more about the exact process and what it looks like, etc. Gladly talk to you over breaks or at lunch or at dinner, whatever. Please come and pick my brains. But what I would say does begin today, and I didn't say that quite so much in module 2, module 1 that's been delivered already, because yes, that is about knowledge development and about thinking specifically around a specific area. For me, this one definitely builds into what you're doing in regards to your endpoints. Okay, so just a little note on that. Your journey is this. So you have, this is a fancy slide. Look, I didn't build this one. Lots of animations on it. But there is a period during your, can't even move the slide on. During your learning, your kind of 12 module units, which will be around observations of practice, which can take place with interview training. So they'll come in and colleagues come in and have a look at the way in which you're working as leaders, which I think is quite an interesting way of doing things, all building towards your endpoint assessment. It's worth noting that if you aren't aware that the ordering of modules as was originally advertised could slightly be changed, but nothing will materially change for you in terms of the way you access the program. It's effectively it's pushed even further, but you won't notice anything. So teach stuff and you're learning, etc. as well. And then have you found your product evidence for module 1? So that should be. So we actually do this every single time. So in the last, my last module, we were also need to find sort of improvement plan or a vision statement or a strategic development plan for the organisation. This time, your product evidence could be your 360 review feedback, which you've all got, which is great. Your insights results, you'll have that soon as well, which is brilliant. And maybe evidence of how you've shared that with a manager. Discuss your leadership development areas with your mentor and agree a focus for your initial action plan. Could be course aims, attend SLT meetings. There's a whole range of things that you use as products, work products and evidence that support your ongoing development or portfolio of books. And please, it's designed very deliberately for you to be able to do this and track progress of the books. In my experience, not a slightly out of either, they definitely haven't been able to keep in case with this. Well, this is designed for you to do the most important thing at the most important time and not do pace. Whereas in my course, I collected 40 pieces of evidence, and then that's this slide with one table. You're collecting 12, which you pretty much go on to. Okay, so you won't do all that much. You'll just get straight to it. So please do not drop behind on collecting that evidence. Think about how you reflect on it, so on and so forth. Let's have a look at the brief. So first thing to say is it's been totally rewritten, and it's been rewritten based on our experience of the first module. So well done for getting through. I usually mark these now to them. So well done for getting through that first module. I think it's fair to say that you definitely deserve the medal. I think the brief was a little bit clunky, and it wasn't perfect. And for this one, we've been and completely reworked it, remapped it. Here's a warning for module that but we will possibly tweak it a little bit to make it a bit more directive. But in this module, we've gone for, there's a word count, there's indicative sections, which you can then go, oh, it's about 300 words on this. Now they're guides, they're not hard fast rules. If you get to 300 don't rewrite it, like it's fine. But what we want you to do for this particular assessment then is describe a leadership event. So you can see here, so it's produce a written critical reflection based on a significant leadership event or experience, either positive or negative, that's been formative in shaping your leadership style and approach. Okay, so we're thinking about a situation, an event. It doesn't have to have been an event that happened in a single second. It's the reason that event is such an event. Okay, so think about it from a holistic perspective. Your reflection, in terms of the way it's written, should demonstrate your ability to integrate leadership theory with practice, and specifically, we would like you to. So describe the leadership event. Provide a clear description of the leadership incident or experience. Okay, and hopefully now we'll start having you think about it. It's really good. And maybe I'm no doubt, right, that the insights thing you understand a little bit more about you and your team, you'll go, there's that maybe I didn't quite catch that right, or it might be an event that you were involved in from an observer perspective. It could be an event that you saw somebody else lead through. Maybe you do a critique of the way in which that event happened. It might have been a more senior leader or a more junior leader or a peer, and you go, wow, or that could have been so much better, or it was a brilliant. How did they manage that so well? And so therefore you can bring in the different elements of theory to be able to articulate the way in which you observe that and how things might change moving forward. So, provide a clear description, set the scene by explaining the context in which the event took place, the organisational context, the cultural context, the sectoral context. Not everyone here is from a school setting, so it's really important that we add that in. Use relevant leadership theory to also articulate the conditions and factors surrounding the event. You've just had one, which is psychological safety, right? That might well create a little base there for you to describe the way in which your organisation exists, right? Does everyone feel a sense of belonging in psychological safety? But you've now got a grading matrix to work against it. Analyse your leadership role. Critically examine your own leadership actions within the event. Even if you're an observer, you're a bit of part of it. So did you help move things along? Were you blind to some things? Did you choose to execute a particular leadership approach in that moment or in that event that maybe was the wrong one, and why? Draw on appropriate leadership theories, models to help interpret and codify your leadership approach and decision-making during the experience. Reflect on the outcomes of an impact, to reflect on the short and longer term outcomes of the events. This event has led to this because maybe it wasn't done well or it was done brilliantly, and therefore we've circumnavigated other issues that are coming along. So what have we learned? Consider the impact on others, colleagues, teams, stakeholders, and use theory to support deeper analysis of these reflections. We've already done a little bit in module 1. There's a previous module that they're around about stakeholder mapping and thinking about things like Mendel's matrix, Mitchell, Eagle and Wood. So you can draw on that and feel like you need to. There's no reason why your theories you've learned so far on board build on top of each other. So they can bring other module material in if you wish to. And then the kind of next bit then is around your leadership insights. So reflect on what you've learned about yourself as a leader through this experience. This is a me thing. What have I learned about me here? Okay. Evaluate how you might approach the same situation differently with your new current understanding. Okay. I think this is quite a nice brief. I think it's a really nice thing to go away and think about. I think it's a really nice thing to go and write. My suspicion is you won't be able to do this for 2,000 words when you first go. My suspicion is you might need to write 3,000 or 4,000 words and then decide which is the most important is. But that might be your process anyway. Yes. Due date's a good question. I'll come back to you, but it's prior to the next project. So you've got every half term. We always give you a half term to do this thing. You've got 5 weeks now. But I'll get information with it. Okay? But it's not now. Otherwise, we'll cancel it. We're all going to write our assignments. And you might think about personal leadership style, how it's influenced, how you influence the situation, the events leading up. Hopefully, you get the gist now. And then the final thing, just here is personal leadership development plan. So based on your reflections, identify a set of personal leadership recommendations. So these are things that should maybe form part of your PDP. Some of you will have PDP as part of your ongoing practice at school, some of you will not. I don't think there is a conversation thing like this, but I'll find what I try to achieve. And I would advise you, actually, it's a good thing to start building in the background of the PDP, certainly in terms of mental conversation, that's useful. So if there's anything massive, I've got one massive, and it's okay. And actually really just speaks to my discovery insights. So what do I want to get better at and how I'm deliberately going to do that well. But these recommendations might help shape the beginning of PDP. Okay, like there are 3 things here that I absolutely need to get better at, or I could do better in the future. And there are things for you to develop, of course, kind of how you're actually going to lead the future. How are you going to implement them, etc., etc. Hopefully, you don't need any guidance like recommendation 1 to do better. Why do I know this blah? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do it? Really specific, in bullet point fashion, but just turn on. So it doesn't need to fancy, put it in the table. I just fancy how you present it. The key thing is what you said. That's the most important key. And then assessment expectations here. So through your reflections, you should demonstrate critical thinking and self-awareness, integrate relevant leadership theories and models and practice, which we'll do, make clear
well-supported connections between academic concepts, real-world complexities, and the leadership that you work within your organisational context. 2,000 words in a written narrative, reflected in tone, but underpinned by academic rigor. Okay, so there's definitely going to be an element of I, we, they, exec in terms of the way you write this. Whereas some of the reports you'll do already may have been a bit more third person. So I've observed this in the organisation, this is what the organisation, that's the report. This is very much a first person one in my opinion. It's this is my leadership. Always use Harvard referencing to cite sources, theories, and applied. You need guidance on Harvard referencing. Have a look at Google, like it's not complicated particularly. And there's some really clear guidance on how to use that. And I've got that if you are using AI anyway, so it's ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, whatever you choose to use in your organisation. There's really good guidance on how you can use AI to support that Harvard referencing. Like get it to do the hard work for you instead of straight referencing to apply view. Don't let it tell you what references to use and how to apply them, but get it to make your own flexible list for you. See if you might want to, in my opinion. So there's just a little bit of a tip on how to use AI moving forward. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions on a sentence? Yes.
So can I just be really clear? Is it an issue experience that we have led or that's being part of seeing the even proverbial hit the fan?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm optimistic, right? I also can't be the next month. So it could be a really boring example that you've been a part of once. It could be that you've seen your head or someone else on the trust just walk straight into the situation and completely destroy it and you just went that way. And that's okay. Just go and think about why it got to that point.
It doesn't have to be answers.
Absolutely not. It'd be either or. But you've got to be facts within it. So how did you lead proper silence or not? Did you see things coming and not raised? Why? That type of thing. But you can be an observation fairly well. But you've got to think about what you learned from that. Does that make sense? If you go on to do an external incident in that respect, then you've got to think about how you're going to draw learning from that your own thing moving forward. So you'll have a discovery insight profile course on as well as all we've learned today. And you can sit your feedback, which we've already done. So yeah, sorry, it was all time.
Yeah. Can we use that as portfolio? So these are reflections.
Good question.
It's like us.
I would suggest not, because I think personally, so in my own portfolio, I didn't suggest these days because it isn't a work product necessarily. You might argue, so it's part of my training on therefore it's a work product, but it isn't a strategic plan for the organisation or or a departmental vision statement or a curriculum centre. It's not that. It's just more of a where am I going? My work. So that would be my view. I don't know if you've got any proposed views on it. Yeah, I don't think it's a corporate job.
Yeah.
In the same way as to me, perhaps are, if you play it along the way. That doesn't make it any less valuable. So like I say, mine's overly big. But actually it's I don't know, I've got like mine's got my kind of personal statement and it's got like 5-year goals, professionally, where I want to be in it. So that kind of splits it all. I have to share my example. And then I've got like what are my learning objectives. My main objective is that if maths that will be a smart table and it asks it to be very specific about. Now, have I done it much? Have I done chunks of it? Yeah. I've got like emotional objectivity in mind. Because I was, one of the things that comes out of my portfolio, I'm quite sensitive to feedback from certain people. So I've worked really hard on that lens. So I would say that's completed. Did I do all the steps and plan? Probably not, but I feel better about it. I thought about it. So it's just an exercise. Any other questions on the assessment? You're all getting so proud of this. Yes. So it needs to be a look. Your product evidence. I'm going to keep looking over some elements I'm your work product or evidence needs to be complex enough for you to be able to draw reference on. So in your endpoint assessments, Sunil will know. They will, ahead of time, they will look at the product that you submitted and then look at a reflection going alongside of it in your one file, using one file view. And therefore they have to have enough to show that you have delivered against certain K or KSP. So it can't be like a one-pager really. needs to be a bit more to it, is my knowledge. I'm not suggesting I'm right on this, but some of my products were like big, long narrative stories about a situation that unfolded over 18 months. And so I did lots of documents that went into it, and then I wrote a reflection on, not on every single page of that, because it would be impossible to do like minutes of meetings and agendas, you know, screen grabs from websites, all that sorts of email chains. So it shows how I'm leading the process. They're really complex, big and heavy. We've got my logos, all our logos on it. But the reflection bit is the bit you get challenged on. Does that make sense? So how are you demonstrating corporate social responsibility? How are you showing the skill of managing a crisis situations? Through the course, when you're collecting these products, you need to be able to evidence how that's achieved somehow. Okay? Yes. Yeah, if it's all built together, it's a nice thing. Yeah, sure. So it wouldn't be just the first assessment. There might be a letter that goes out to parents about the trip, and you might add in if you want to make it proper use. You might go in. The way I view this, whether I'm right or wrong, right? I'm just sort of a bit of like I want the products not for explicitly tell a story, but map journey over time chronologically, and then reflection for a bit about the challenge. So if you do a trip, don't give me the risk assessment. Give me a letter, give me an email chain between you and a parent who's worried about medication. You know, show me how you've done that. But don't write anything new. Just copy and paste things into it. And that's one single piece of evidence, the way I view this. So no, sorry, just to move up. And the actual fact that will be used by the tax element that often will also give you something that you want efficiency in that. So, for example, you may be asked to critically analyze, you might be asked to justify or to evaluate, to make sure that you've got good time relation that will allow you to respond to that number in the actual question that demonstrates. And plus, it's not the setup as well, there's massive levels in to also bear that in mind. Okay. Any more? Or any more? If you've got any level of certainty about this, we're about to go out to break 5 or 10 minutes. Come and find one. Cool. And if you want to see examples of things that I've done, not saying I am not like any quick assessment aids, like, but I won't, I'll share anything on my laptop that I've used before. I did at the end of this question message, and I shared some examples of things so if you could let me know. Okay. But don't think about endpoints, just focus on the set of our section. From the morning of day one of the beginning. So let's learn sport first. As we head into break, I'm going to have 10 minutes before we go into a break. But this is the point at which I want you to just pull out some 360 reviews if you've got them with you, either printed or on your laptop. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay, just for 10 minutes, but then as we initiate and we go into the break, we're going to go into a sort of 15-minute coffee break, I think. I'm looking at Amy and Liz to confirm.
Yeah, yes, it is.
15 minutes. We've got until 4:15 now, so 25 minutes at total. I want you to work with a partner or your three, whichever number you're in, I shall say, and just share your overall findings from your 360-degree review. What maybe surprised you? You've written a reflection on it. What surprised you? And what that means for your next steps. And just going back to that Simon Sinek quote, what's interesting about this group and any group, it's not like, oh, I do this, I'm ahead, I essentially like, you know, it's more just about you, like you check in on each other on how you get on with stuff. I want you to be able to create a bit more of a depth to your relationship. Now, health warning on this, and I'll encourage this, I'm going to ask you to be responsible in delivering this. If you work with a certain table set, people that may have responded to your 360-degree review, you might want to go and choose to talk to someone else. Okay? Because, you know, some stuff you want to know about each other, maybe some stuff you don't. But also it might be that you took feedback from someone and you sat talking to someone and gave really difficult feedback. And they're going, yeah. So all I'm saying is, like, feel free to go and chat to someone new. There's enough space in this room to break out and go and talk to someone. But if you feel like the person next to you can help, then great. But if you kind of not that person, then please do look around and maybe grab someone. It's just a pairs exercise. But then go to topic support class. All right. Super. Thank you very much. It's working. Have to be ready. Hi. Not something that uplifting. Yeah. Now. Things. I can't even.
I love that moment and I don't point to them. That's something with perfection. Yeah, I sometimes it's different. Yeah. Try. So. I'm probably. I think. When you think that's that. Yeah, do you get?
Okay, that's it. I mean, that's I saw it in the video. And then it just honestly started.
I know. No. But. Okay. Switch out. Oh, bless you. Well, so it's your break. You can do it's break time there, and welcome to stay and chat. If you want to go and get yourself a drink, let's say there's a bit of sugar out there, and allow people to go in. And if I can ask you to be back here and ready to move on at 4:30 please. But good work, stretch play again. That's what I think it is. Yeah, right. So, I'll show it to some. Okay. Yes. Sound. Yes, take me.
So in place of that. Some things. Where is the time? So like I said,
It is still to that. So this tripod, and it's actually
so yes. And that's really system. When actually I'm doing it, I'm not really.
It's more about how you're taking the time away from the.
I know that's it, but that's the sometimes like yesterday I did a presentation at Diocese.
Yeah. That's fine.
Does that fit?
Yeah, the planning for that does. And the delivery of it does.
Yeah. Okay, because that's what I'm just trying to work out which.
I think as long as it's in relation to the program. So your day-to-day activities must be captured, so that's where it is. So your day-to-day business is in the this side of the don't think
Yeah.
go bragging funds. Friendship rule is just so they take in class. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's access. If you need to, it's to, but you should be doing. And what I was going to say is you can target and it's very exactly. I mean, probably reason. Well, to protect the influence of the but by the end of it, most of them, so you must be what it was there. Students 17 now. And it's curious because it's pregnant. So that we have a four. But four, so like the ring, rounding past, then space, however, up space, but some using. Yeah, yeah, so it's pretty. But yeah, yeah. Speaking of serial, look, you got everything is students. By the way, and then you've got delivery. Seem to be what can be some just give me a you know, it's a pleasure. I can't think that it's not beginning.
Yeah.
I'm not a director. My job is to lead. So it was on equals fact.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was proper. Things. I don't think count. So it's but I'll think. That's what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I'll just come out of presentation and.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
Just something last week, the wrong one.
That's fine. So this is your original deck. So which one do you want playing in?
No, it's going to take 2 lines out on the side.
Right, so in that case, let's go to the deck that we're working on, which is this one. And your stuff starts.
And that's really. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, the and
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Sorry, can I? Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
Just find the right.
Yeah.
It's got a top wall. That's on the screen, but don't.
No, no.
Also.
Yeah.
Well, fire rent, we don't have to. Being broken. Being. That's the key. So that's not setting vision. They're not them, but okay, what's it different?
I'm going for it. It's, just starting to move up. Beautiful, yeah, maybe from. Stuff. But I think, yeah. You got it. I'm sorry.
Right, you sorry. Dash. 19 is that true?
So, James, just so you know, I'm spreading myself out. I'm going to use those two tables of sit at the card game.
Yeah.
They'll need to go and collect cards from.
Bridge. Bridge.
Rich?
Robin.
Yes. Cameron's put all the profiles out in alphabetical order up there.
Okay.
So they will go and get the profiles later.
Okay.
We will hand the blocks out to certain points.
Yeah.
And there are other things that Cameron will spread around. So we need one of these tables. I just need to find it papers.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if it's okay if I just.
Yeah. This one will be better.
That's fine. I'll put that there in a minute. Sorted. And is it all right if I take this tape down now?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Which, just out of interest, which slide was it that you edited? Do you know what number it was?
It was
Just so I can.
yeah, just you know, it's further up. I was lying. Can I just that one?
43.
Yeah.
Let me just check. In here. You're okay, Liz?
Yeah, I was just hovering, see if Sonia wanted help with it. He's holding one end of the tape.
Nothing but this. I need to put on the piece of tape right down the middle here. It's fast. Fine. Do you think that to that the green ball?
Just check. That is that done what you wanted it to do?
No.
No. So which ones come out of it?
These two here. These two.
Take those out. Yeah. All right. I'll reach there.
By in the middle, that nothing.
Fine.
Like,
I'm back.
I'm going to put them start to go. Not to see it. Can't get rid of it in a bit. Camera couldn't go on this yet.
Oh, you're going to.
Yeah, you.
I was just wondering, is that presentation, has it been emailed to us?
It hasn't been. Miles can do it pretty quickly.
Okay, perfect.
It's been ready for a week.
Yeah, that's fine. It's only because as we're going through, it's quite nice to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Pictures off and then take my notes and
If you talk to Miles,
Yeah.
I can pull it straight out of the team space.
All right,
And
perfect.
yeah,
Lovely
work.
Thank you. Yeah. I think cleaning the next session.
No, lizards.
This is,
Yeah.
this, right, okay. Hi, Liz. Right, I just see you. Thank you. In the process, like, so. Let's quiet. Okay, right. So, thank you. Right, thank you. Yes.
I'm going to go out of that.
Well, I've done that.
Well, when you're out there, you go.
Yeah, I will, and I'll do all the video bits for you.
We just have one lot of schedule.
Yeah.
Just
But when what happens, you know?
I've just done the double check to know which one goes forward. Everybody.
Yes, yes, I think everyone is back.
This one lady just said she needs to take a note of course.
She's just done it and come back
Oh,
in.
she's back.
Yeah.
Right, fine. And we can make a start here. So I think probably already picked up a huge this residential is about knowing yourself. And we're all very British, aren't we? We're all come up with things that we need to do to get better. That's our whole raison d'etre of leaders in education is what can we do to improve? We write school improvement plans, we write trust improvement plans. I mean, who's ever written a what we're good at plan? Just doesn't have rules for people that, and I say we're very British, so we'll always talk about our weaknesses, and people struggle to talk about their strengths. It's very different in a room full of Americans. They do have a very different, you know, I don't want to mention the too much, because that's just a nightmare. But you know, they have that much more, they can have that much more confidence to talk about what they're good at. And I think some of the things that that we sometimes apologise for. I was talking about that actually they can be superpowers. You know, so I spoke to a couple of leaders who were sort of, well, actually, I've just come back from maternity leave. Almost like it's an apology. It's like, oh, it's a superpower. Because what you gain from that, from having a family or from working in different contexts, you bring all that to the table with you. So I do want you to embrace when we get our insights profile, like the rest of us, we'll all turn to, oh, yeah, what's it say? It's terrible about me. But, you know, I urge you, focus on what you are really good at. Because actually, as a leader, you need to know that. Because if you are recruiting other leaders, you need to recruit people who fill your gaps. So what am I really good at? Well, I'm pretty good at that aspect. So maybe I need to recruit someone who's really good at that. So, you know, I am known as, you know, the irritating optimist because my husband said he's putting on my gravestone, so she also saw blue sky. But, you know, focus on positives. And I think a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about around the discovery insights, starting today and then tomorrow, is just different models to help you. As we did in the first module, there's different models. And we present you with, we don't present you with so many that your brain is completely fried, but hopefully we present you with enough that there will be one that speaks to you more than us. And that's the one, take the other into account, but take the one that really speaks to you, and you really feel that's got a place for me. And one of the ones that I came across early doors when teaching, so Teachers for Alliances, was something by Steve Radcliffe, Leadership Plain and Simple. I like things to be nice and simple. As I said, I did 10 years in industry before I came into education. Yeah, I was part of that younger generation in the 80s. No, don't say it's worth all then. And I was working in sales, so we used to have, they called it kids. Keep it simple, stupid. And you know that sticks with me. To try and keep things as simple as you can. And this one is why this one really speaks to me. And it's great now because we will, when we looked at the stuff to cover, we'll grab bits that we felt most comfortable with, which is always nice. And of course it's education, so we've got a 3-letter acronym, don't it? It has to be a 3-letter acronym. Sometimes they come up with 4 lots long, you know. That's a bit strange. What that should be 3 letters. So this one is a really simple 3-letter acronym, SAID. And what Steve Radcliffe talks about is the real number of leadership and the real way of simplifying those processes. Really think about now, like simple things, when you really dig into it, there are complexities there. But it gives you a really good handle to just start the journey, to think about what it is to be a leader, which is different. Leaders aren't people who they're born to lead or they're not. We're all leaders. And we'll all lead in different ways, but there are common themes to it. So I'm going to use rather than me explain it, I'm going to use a clip so you can actually see Steve Radcliffe explain it. And it warms my heart well, you just got to know what this is. So I know you're we've got sat, that in like we say, some sense of my northern background.
There's something crazy going on. There's an old story running, and it's limited so many people in their lives. This old story is something about leaders being different, maybe special, perhaps even heroic, and they might have gone to the right school. And this story excludes lots of us and has many of us not believe we are leaders. We need to kill this old story and we need a new one. And the new one I have seen lived in many cases, and it is the truth. As we say in the book, everyone can be a leader and make a bigger difference, whether it's to your career, your performance, the relationships you have with colleagues, or the quality of life you have at home. For years, what we have been doing is helping people go beyond these old stories and these limits. The second thing we've done is then help them build what we call your leadership muscles. And we've identified there are 3 essential leadership muscles, and of course they're called future, engage, and deliver. This is how I spoke about these leadership muscles recently. The good news is that this stuff needn't be complicated. If you go into any bookstore and you stand in front of the business book section, and if you then start looking at all the titles on leadership, you can be really daunted by, oh my God, this leadership stuff is complicated, it's mysterious, I'm going to have to learn about all sorts of interesting and complicated stuff. That is a fallacy, it is not true. I've been studying this and practicing in this field for 20 years, and I can tell you this stuff can be plain and simple, and you can boil it all down to just 3 words we're going to run through today. It dawned on me a few years ago that whatever way you look at leadership, it can always boil down to just 3 aspects. And we're going to do some work this morning in each of these three spaces.
Whatever it is you will want to make happen, whether it be at home, whether it be a party, a holiday, a weekend away, or whether it be at work, a project, a team or goal, and we do a lot of work in Whitehall with the government, trying to help make a prosperous society and all that works. When you're in leader mode, your thinking always starts in the future. Crucially, you do not get constrained by what you have in the present or what patterns there have been in the past. When you're in your best leader mode, you don't care about that. You just get in touch with, how do I want it to be? The trick there is, give yourself a sense of freedom to do that. Some in the room are better at that than others. That's one of the leadership muscles some of us might want to build. When you've got in touch with what is the future you want, the second phase of all this leadership stuff is to interact with others so you leave them wanting to come with you. That's my definition of engage. You interact with others so that they want to come with you. This is very different to tell them, communicate at them, etc. But when you've got people who are engaged, you've still not done anything, which is why you need to go on and deliver. The final piece of the leadership jigsaw. Future, engage, deliver. Since we created the framework, it's travelled well. It's even appeared on the BBC News and got a mention in the House of Commons. But most importantly for you, the Chief Executive of the UK's Marketing Society says, Future Engage Deliver has to be the simplest, fastest way for anyone to grow as a leader. So I suggest you pause here and think about and talk about the current state of your leadership muscles, which are currently strong, which less so, and which you might want to build. And the good news is you can build all these muscles simply with practice. So here are some possible questions for you to talk about in pairs or your full group. Which of the future?
Stop it there because we're not going to do that at this stage. It's just an introduction. So often, because we're busy, because in schools everything is urgent, we go straight to delivery. And we don't always think about, well, hang on a minute, where do I want to be? When you're writing that plan, now I work with leaders, and so often the plan is all about delivery. It's all about action. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And my common phrase is, so what? Why are you going to do all of those? You know, you can put it in the official terminology, the success criteria, but really, instead of thinking about how to deliver, start your thinking with what is it you want to achieve? What is it we actually want to do? And that's then about inspiring people to want, as we said, to want to come along with you. Now, you know in teams, you'll all know your own people. And you know there's the quick win people, low-hanging fruit, the people who get enthusiastic about those ideas. Oh, you know, pull them on first. Because it's much better with some of those who can be a bit more reticent for them to want to join you, told to join you. And once you've got that engagement around, excitement around a future idea, then you're really rolling and then you're really going to get everybody engaged in that delivery. One of the things Steve Radcliffe talks about is, you know, leaders are always up to something. You know, I go and a heads meeting, or I go and see my senior leaders. And one particular one, Amy, who springs to mind, she'd look at me sometimes and she'd go, oh no, I know that look. You're up to something. You've got an idea for something. And that's the thing, to keep up to something.
Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know it had spinny graphics. And when you think about some of the leaders of, to go another way, some of the leaders and some of the role models, who've taken people with them because people wanted to, not because they were told to. I mean, examples everyone know, Nelson Mandela, I mean, he spent 25 years in prison. Who go, well, he's an ex-con, why would I want to follow him? But people followed because they chose to, because he was saying something different, he was inspired, he was giving them a real picture of what life could and should be like. He didn't start with the delivery, he started with that image. Jurgen Klopp's, I mean, they're probably the only thing, one of the most pillar areas of leadership is Premier League football. They're in, they're out, they're gone. And so to find leaders in that who lead with kindness, who lead with inspiration, who lead with taking people with them rather than telling them what to do. I think Jurgen Klopp is a fantastic example of that. Ultimately, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. Well, that's future, isn't it? His famous speech, he saw children of different colours walking hand in hand, streets. He absolutely led with future. And coming more recently, I'm a massive fan of Jacinda Ardern, who actually decided, I want to do something different. I want to lead my country with kindness. That was her dream. Quite something to achieve as a leader of the country, but she did, and there's made people want to go with her. So it is all about that future. And if you paint the picture that people want to follow, they will engage. Then you've got a massive amount of energy to deliver. So I really like that model because it's just really, really simple. And hey, it's just been interactive, what we love. The other aspect of this that you've seen on that third slide, the other part that I think just will really help you when we get into the discovery, in fact, looking at tomorrow, and I'll return to it tomorrow. Steve Bradley also talks about being in the leadership mode. We start that he talks about 3 modes being operator, manager, and leader. And there are times when we need to be in operator or manager, but we have to be aware not to be stuck in manager. We need to step into that leadership mode. And I will let him explain those a little bit better.
Just recently, I was with a chief executive and her name was Sock. And if you had told me a few years ago that she was going to rise to this position, I wouldn't have believed it. But what she's done is really apply herself to growing as a leader. Now, I've said that this involves A, going beyond our limits, and B, growing our leadership muscles. And this is something she has done very well, and it's something you could do too. One of the limits she could get caught up by is this whole one not believing that she's a leader, but she's moved on through that limit. The second thing she has done is noticed how she could limit herself by being in what we call operator manager mode rather than leader mode. This is what I have to say about these 2 modes. Here is a map of your challenge for everybody in the room. And it's the map of your journey in your career at work. The map for every one of us started with us in our first job, and we're all hired to be an operator, a doer, a fixer. Write that report, take that over there, get that little job done. Everybody in the room got really good at this, which sounds like a positive in the story, but beware. And every one of us got promoted into a position of manager, where our role was to supervise and coordinate the doing of a number of operators. And everybody in the room got really good at that, which also sounds like a positive in the story. And then you have all been invited at some time in your career to step forward as a leader. Now, you've shown some leadership abilities along the way, but now everybody here is being asked by the organisation, we want you to be a leader, operator, manager, leader, and there's a catch, which is that everybody we have worked with spends more time than they want to coming out of leader mode and back into operator manager. And this is something to be aware of. A lot of future engaged deliver is about being aware of yourself and what's happening around you, and then choosing what to do next. Be aware of operator, manager, leader. Now, some might say, but my job is an operator manager job. How can I possibly be a leader? A participant in a recent conference raised exactly this question, and he said, sometimes I'm in operator manager mode and there's no way out. This is what I replied. Please beware that phrase, there is no way out. Be really careful about the quality of thinking you bring to the situation you're in. If you think and then believe there is no way out, I'll bet you're going to be right. As opposed to, from the bottom of this kit, it looks as though there's no way out. But as a leader, I always start in the future. So even though you're in operator manager mode, can you be conscious in the moment and choose to switch to leader mode? Some of you might not have been thinking when I started and saying, oh, it's just about imagine the future. Can you imagine the opposite? Yeah, no problem. It's amazing. Obviously, it's obviously dead easy to start the future. But you've just brought wonderfully alive, present can get me. I'll suck you in and keep you in operator manager mode so that you believe and it becomes a fact that there's no way out. Unless you pause, step into leader mode and say, we're absolutely not where I want us to be, but what's the future I want? Including in terms of resource and the team on what we take on and what we don't. And how many people will we say no to because we're a bit rubbish at that? And so on. So even in the depths of your operator manager mode, reach out for your leader mode. We all have our operator mode, our manager mode, our leader mode. The trick is to keep bringing leader mode regardless of the task, the job, the situation we're in. And bringing leader mode always starts by starting in the future. There are two ways you can grow.
Quite a few nods there when we talk operator, manager, leader. It does, oh, yes. Just take 5 minutes just to reflect. If you want to talk to somebody, do, but just to reflect yourself. Think about it's Thursday. Think about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For the last 3 days you would work. Scribble yourself a little pie chart. Just think, how much of that time was I in operator mode? Was I doing? How much of that time was I in manager mode? I'm managing the doing of others. And how much of that time was I in leadership mode? Where I was really thinking of the direction of travel, what we wanted to achieve as a team, what I wanted to achieve, what were the things that we were, the journey to make things better for the children in our care. Just take 5 minutes to say yourself, it's okay, we won't be collecting it in.
Thinking back last out. His answer. Executive look for the farms in terms of music. Trigger for some. I'm not doing this because he has them to do the chair thing, because I want to make sure we're on time for Sunday.
No, look, it's a really useful model against that because again,
Where you
time isn't.
I think quite writing about myself, thinking about it. So I'm instantly starting to clarify that where I was at as part of that. Where we've been.
Just hearing that music shows that we take that positive trigger of the sessions we did teachers groups. It's but then yeah, okay, leadership, money. Yeah, I think I told you. That's why. Keep it everything. Thanks.
Yeah. Read my. Oh, I'm gonna say. I just.
You guys choose. Go. It's nice. Yes. Oh. That's. That's not. That's nice. Yeah. That's Bye. So, okay, coming back. Thank you. Anything you want to anything you want to share, just to put up first thoughts on that. But yeah. Just speak up a little bit, maybe say that. Yeah, so it's being operated on the day-to-day basis. There's lots of human team, you know, every day we'll just do it. Yeah. And to have a chance or being conscious enough to step up step into that leadership role when the teaching full time as well. It's like I feel like we're constantly operating. Absolutely. Or then if you've got support staff in your room, you might be managing theirs. But it's almost if you've got that awareness, you know, try, okay, I just need to put that switch in my head. It might be really closer to park when you actually get time to really get these things through. But it's almost knowing this, and then you can consciously move that forward. Any comments from any other thing on this table, anything? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but it's just if you want to say anything. I think we sometimes forget that the artists we can be in leadership mode without even thinking about it. And that's why I say that when we're reflecting on something that's happening, so we have a discussion about what we're going to do better next time. That is leadership mode. It's not necessarily manager mode. Yeah. And sometimes you say, sometimes when you might think you're an operator, then you are leading. And there's an aspect about teaching, I think you are leading. The children in your bath, they're seeing as you, that somebody who's leading and taking forward. I met with a very successful CEO in the, I think, truck. So obviously he has lots of operators and lots of managers. And we sort of said, you know, it's the beginning of the new year and happy 2026. And he's like, oh no, mine head's in 2029. And it was a bit like, okay. But that is a really successful CEO, strategic leader. And he's already, his head is in, where will we be in where will this bus be in 2029? Now, presumably he doesn't think that all the time, so it's really annoying for his wife, I'm sure. But it's that, you know, hearing somebody say that explicitly was quite, yeah, okay. So yeah, so there's just a few sort of models. I am not on any kind of commission, but the Leadership Plain and Simple is on Amazon, and it's not an expensive book. It's an easy read and read. I know you've got lots of reading, but if this model has just going to teach you, it's more of a practical with case studies in rather than an academic tone. If that's your bet. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit tomorrow, but we wanted to cover some of those aspects because I think as we walk through that 360, those insights, and all about getting to know yourself more. I think that gives you two really simple models to kind of frame some of it on about the time you spend in operator, in manager and leader role, but also that what is a leader, that future engaged in it. So it's just, we'll have more time tomorrow to really talk about this and discuss this. But I just think they're nice things to just simple models to hold in your mind as we have the conversations over the rest of the day. So I'm going to hand over to Sonia, who is going to lead most of the work, the rest of the afternoon in terms of the discovery insight. As I said to you, Amy and I are in your boat because we both have person time. So I think I'm quite really interesting because, you know, since the last time I did anything civil, I'm in a very different role. So I haven't done this one before, but we did one some years ago. And when I was deputy, which I did it, and I absolutely came out at the language lecture as a completed teacher. And my husband will tell me that I am a mass of the teacher. So I start something, I don't stop. My worst thing is if I start reading a book and I don't like a book, I have to finish it because I started it. But then I did the same process a few years later. That's probably that. Cool, can't buy it. And I realised it's because I'm now in a different role, not my job to be that operator. It's my job to do that leader. So I'm really interested now. I'm in a very different role. What my head back, but I'll describe it. I'll let my husband read it when I get home or not. Thank you very much. Do you? I'm going to Anthony Bourne.
Hello, everyone. It's going to be a really interactive session today, so be ready to move around and talk. My name is Sonia Homewood. I am your facilitator for most of the rest of the day. Cameron is sitting at the back, Cameron Wade. And just so you know, Cameron's my son, so now. So if he says mom, he's not just being a bit weird, we actually are related and we run Purple People Development together. So I'm really excited to be working with you today. I know you filled some evaluators out and you're looking forward to getting your profiles. But first of all, we're going to get to know each other a little bit better. We are going to understand a little bit about the insights methodology. So we're going to do a few little chapters today. So we're going to be doing Do You See What I See? So we're going to be talking about perception and how it affects everything that we do in our interactions with others. We're going to be talking about how we see the world in colour. So we're going to be talking about the insights discovery methodology and the 4 colour energies. We're going to think about preferences. So insights discovery is based on Carl Jung, who was a psychologist, his methodology. So we're going to be talking about the preferences that surround that. Then we're going to talk about, so you're going to get your profiles and understand a little bit more about yourself, and just so that you know they're confidential. Nobody is seeing your profiles, they'll be confidential to you, and they don't need to be shared, but we might ask you to share certain elements of it. We're then going to talk about us. So even though you're not an intact team, we'll start to look at how we look in the room together. So what our preferences are in the room. And then we're just going to get a little bit deeper about, you know, how you are reflecting on your profile and how you see the group as a whole. Then we're going to be people detectives. So start to think about how we can recognise other people's preferences and how we can start to adapt and connect to meet with them, and then think about the action. So it's going to be a pretty full-on afternoon and day. You will be moving around, doing different things. Participate as much as you like on go, but please don't ask volunteers. Really help. That would be great. So we're going to start on your tables. I want you to do a little exercise with me. I want you to think about and talk about on your tables one thing that you have in common with each person on the table. So something different. So it might be that Cameron and I both wear glasses. James and I both like that colour blue. Liz and I both think you. It doesn't matter, you've just got to find one thing in common on the table that you've got with somebody else. I'm going to give you 5 minutes or so to do that. That's okay. Yeah, those are all living something. Yes. Of course, then, if you're putting do your breaths, means I don't. And that's not being fast. What was the feeling? Was it like that? Was it all that?
Let me just have a look.
But it's just, next time, just give me a shout and I'll send you.
I think, yeah, I think when we planned it, we needed to shoot it in
Oh, that's-
like a slide film. It wasn't, which one is it?
It doesn't even look like that deck. But, that's fine.
That might not be ours. Is it definitely our desk?
It's got this. No,
This?
it's not that. Oh, it's that. Yeah,
Oh, I might have just seen the outsides and not
Uh-huh.
thought about the,
yeah, the words in there. Just
oh,
confusing. That's all right, it's funny.
they, sorry about that, okay? There's only one copy of that, just that, so you know. Just, we can clear that up.
No. Okay. So today we are going to ask you if you can just be present. So I appreciate if you've got laptop, you've got working background and everything else. It's about you. So the work that we're going to do together today is about you, all self-awareness. And my daughter-in-law is a teacher, and I know that it doesn't get much time. You don't get much time for self-awareness and self-development. So this is a precious time for you. So give that time to yourself. Be transparent. So allow us to hear and allow others to hear what you're thinking. Be curious. We'll see things differently as well. We'll find out and do some work on perception. Be mindful. So in that aspect, people are sharing things about the way they feel. You know, create a condition of trust and respect. Okay, you'll be good. Okay, so before we start, what I'd like you to do is to think about somebody, so in your head, you don't have to share it out loud, that you would like to connect with better. Somebody you would like to know better, get on well with, you don't particularly get on well with now. So keep somebody in the back of your mind going. So it could be a key stakeholder, it could be a supplier, it could be a colleague, But it can be work. So you just think of somebody, oh, wish you get up to that. You see later on whether you manage to think of some mechanisms to be able to do that. Okay, so perception. So just a question in the room. Where do we get our perceptions from? Our experiences, where else? Sorry? Parents, upbringing, yes, where else? Media, yes, where else? Environment, what else? Friends and peers, yeah. Our perceptions are driven by everything that we do and see. So our experiences from where we were brought up, where we were brought up, where we went to school, people we've interacted with, the people we've worked with, things that happened to us, all sorts of things. And we can have a perception straight away when we walk in a room. You have a perception about how today's going to go, what Sonia's going to be like, what David's going to be like. So what this is going to say, so we have a perception and we will all think things differently. Has anyone seen this picture before? Hands up. Yeah, okay. So it's a really old picture and loads of people have seen it before. But I want to ask you to do something for me. Have you got papers and pens on the table? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to put 4 questions up and I'm going to ask you to just write down your answers to the questions. Try and see to do that. The first question is, what age is this person? Where in the world do they live? What job do they do or how do they spend their time? And if you met them, what do you think they would be like? I'd like to just write down the answers to those questions. Has anybody not got any papers? Okay, I'm just going to give you a minute or so. You guys are very welcome to join in. Thank you. So what age is this person? Where in the world do they live? What job do they have or how do they spend their time? And if you met them, what do you think they would be like? Do you know that minute or so? My own opinions, please. Everyone I know is whether it's seen. So finally, what age is this person? Where in the world do they live? What job do they do or how might they spend their time? And if you met them, what do you think they would be like? Yes. Okay. And who would like to tell me what age they think this person is? 30, 30, like late 20s, 23, 65, 70, and 80. That's on 40. 60 and 75, any others? Early 20s, ladies, 24, 28. Wow, okay, that's not one. Okay, second question there. Where in the world do they live? Italy, Italy, right? I don't think Victoria and Chocolate. Yeah. Yeah. Any from Victoria, London, France, Paris? Yes, Egypt. Sure. Very good. Very good. France, Paris, Tree.
Manchester.
Manchester, thank you very much. Okay. So because of the acoustics in the room, I'm going to ask your hands up, shout, so I can make sure everyone can hear you. So what job do they do or how do they spend their time? Yes.
Socialite.
Socialite,
Fashion design.
fashion designer, dancer,
Lovely, model,
actress,
a model.
a madame. Shop. Ladies,
I would like a lunching.
lunching, lunch. Very nice. Okay, final question. If you met them, what do you think they would be like?
Elegant.
Elegant and confident. Extroverts.
Sorry.
Entitled.
Grumpy.
Grumpy. Anything else?
Yeah. Worn down.
Worn down.
Nothing.
Snappy.
Lovely.
Busy. Okay, so do we all agree that we're looking at the same black and white picture that's 100 years old? Yeah? All agree, okay. So this is a very, very famous drawing. And it's a drawing of actually two ladies. Okay, and I think we did a live, I think, last time I did use this. So the two ladies, you can only see a younger lady. You can only see an older lady. You can't see anything. Okay, well, right. So I'm just going to explain what this is, and then we're going to talk about perception. So this picture, if it's the older lady, she is looking downwards and she's got a shawl over her head. This is her nose. This is her mouth and eye. Can anyone see it now that couldn't before? Yeah? Everyone okay? Yeah? Can any gentleman at the back, can you see it yet? Okay. I'm going to colour it in for you and show you later. The younger lady, so those that can't see the younger lady, she's looking this direction. This is her eyelash. Might be her hair or a shawl with a feather at the top. Her cheekbone, chin and cheekbone here, and maybe a little choker, thank you, around her neck. And then she might have a shawl over her head. Can anyone see it now? No. Okay, don't worry. So this is perfectly normal. It's just the way our minds work. Sometimes we can see one, sometimes we can see both, sometimes chin. We might see anything, it's fine. So it's a very, very famous picture and it helps us understand our perceptions and realise that we all see things differently, even when it's real. Okay, so those really like to see them later. Cameron and I during lunch a bit well. Okay. So I'll talk about perception again. So another question to you all. Your team has a new colleague, and they've just come in, you walked past them in the office, you said hello, they didn't look up or respond. What are your immediate thoughts and feelings? Sorry?
They're grumpy.
They're grumpy?
Are they okay?
Are they okay?
Maybe
Maybe they didn't hear you? Rude, yes? Anything else? Nervous? Preoccupied? So, in that moment, in that split moment, if that had happened to all of us, we're all standing in the corridor, we're going to send hello to this person, we would all have had what was going on. It's a huge part in our day-to-day activities and in all the day-to-day activities you have and all the interactions that you have on a day-to-day basis. Just understand what's happening here. Anyone heard of the ladder of perception? Okay, so it's a really, really simple concept. But we do it really fast every single day and we go through this process. So there's an event as a camera would capture it. So we walk past and said hello. So you then select some data and make a perception in that moment. You then make a judgment. You have about your values. So depending on your values, the way you see things, where your perceptions come from, you will make a judgment. You will then make an interpretation and give the whole thing meaning in a split second. You'll then draw a logical conclusion to your logic. And you will have an emotional, physical response on the back of that. You'll form a belief and you'll take action. And you do that in a split. So let's look at this particular example. I said hello and he didn't reply. It's right at the bottom. The event as we saw it. He ignored me deliberately. You said he was rude. You said he was rude. Yeah. So in your example, he ignored me deliberately. So we selected the data from that action. He's rude. He's got no manners. We put a value against that because of the way we have our values. That to us that may be rude. That's what. We then gave it some meaning. He doesn't like me. We've got a problem. We put a meaning around it. This is never going to work. We suddenly draw a logical conclusion as to what's happened. I feel uncomfortable, so I will avoid it. I'm never going to be able to get on with him with belief. And the action is, I just need to look for a new job. And we might, I know this is an exaggerated example, we do go up that ladder super fast when we have that moment, that event. Yes, because in the moment when I said to you, why, what happened when he ignored you, there's so many different things. We might have gone up that ladder to that conclusion. But we can look at things a different way as well. I said hello and he didn't reply. Okay, so the same event. He couldn't have heard me. He said he didn't heard me. Yes. He seems really focused and busy. I'll have to pick my moment to introduce myself. So we might therefore give it a different interpretation and put a different meaning behind it. I need to show him how I fit into the team. I'm looking forward to working with him. We've put an emotional and physical response around that. I think I can learn from this guy. And I'll ask for some time in his diary that suits. So by the same event, we could have gone up the ladder in two different directions. Yeah, and we do it all the time. We do it day in, day out, everything that we have some time with. So what I'd like you to do is on your tables, I'd like you to just think about some questions. So which step of the ladder do you think people tend to skip over and why? So just a general discussion on the table. Can you think of a recent situation where you climbed that ladder quickly? Did something happen? Did somebody need and you just went, how might that ladder of perception show up in your team dynamics or when you're about conflict in the office and or any workplace that you're in? And what questions could you ask yourself in the moment to avoid rushing up that ladder? Where can you shortcut to make sure you don't rush up the ladder in the wrong direction? Does that make sense? Everyone okay to just have 5 minutes or so for discussion with them? Okay. Yeah. You don't say you don't actually and around rest. Yeah. That's not so much. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, make sure. That's the new one. No. Okay. Yes, yes. It's all like, I mean, yeah, maybe I'm gonna live with a that. You know, Okay. How did we get off? How did we get on? Well, we get some nice examples. I'd like to share a moment of the neighbour up that ladder really super fast.
Well, I stopped myself, but people around me did it.
Oh, very interesting. Share that one.
So, we're in a trust and they shared with us next year's term dates once a year. And I had colleagues and parents jump from 1 to 8 because days have been taken away from the school holidays and added to like October.
Right.
I stopped myself at 2 to think, actually, why is this? What's happening? And looked at it a bit deeper, and I could see there's logic behind it. So,
Very good. Thank you very much. Sharing. Is anyone else want to share anything? Yes.
Well, just on the back of that, the same trust, the same station.
Yeah.
We kind of putting our, I think as teachers, leaders, schools, move forward with negative first, the first divisions. Like high school, getting constantly one that's first, yeah, so instead of getting two after. And my cousin, right, two, so I read one, and then someone had all small pot saying, what she has, so the stuff that our children should. So I think, no, so they have decided what to find it. And it's constantly look to them in things, one more, and have a Wi-Fi thing, so we kind of what's up. In front of people, yeah. And naturally, it's easy to share their emotions, experiences, and tell us about if you're going to be negative. So we're going in that direction. If you can short circuit it, find you can be short circuit, will be good in your life. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, so I'm gonna be talking about the world of colour now. So by now you will have realised there'll be blocks on your table that we're going to be talking about some colours. So as I said to you earlier on, insights discovery is based on 4 colour energies. Okay, it's based on Carl Jung's methodology, and we're going to talk through the colours, and we're going to talk through the preferences that are associated with it. So it looks like this. So the wheel or the 4 colour energies look like this, 4 quadrants. It's really easy to understand, and in its most basic term, this is what they mean. So fiery red. So in the top right-hand corner, is fiery red, and these attributes essentially are competitive, demanding, determined, strong-willed, and purposeful. We're going to get a bit deeper into these in a minute. Earth green, the opposite side, caring, encouraging, sharing, patient, relaxed. Cool blue, cautious, precise, deliberate, questioning, and formal. And by the way, I'm going to give you some sheets in a minute with all these written out, so you'll have them. And sunshine yellow, sociable, dynamic, demonstrative, enthusiastic, and persuasive. And these are how you might appear, or others might appear on a day-to-day basis in terms of behaviours. Okay? Now, every day has a bad. Okay, every good day is a bad day. And the same colour energies on a bad day might appear in these ways. So somebody who's having a bad day or under stress or pressure, they might show aggressive, controlling, driving, overbearing or intolerant behaviours if they're using their fiery red energy. Sound familiar? Nodding going on. Earth green, the opposite side. They might be docile, bland, plodding, reliant, relaxed, and stubborn. So they might be a little bit like, oh, you're going against my values. I'm not going to be doing that. And you might see that behaviour. Cool blue, stuffy, indecisive, suspicious, cold, reserved. They might not want to sign off that work that you're going to do on the budget because they haven't seen all the detail behind it. They might go, oh no, I'm not going to do that. Oh no, you put under too much. Or opposite to that, sunshine yellow, excitable, frantic, indiscreet, flamboyant, and hasty. So on a bad day, sunshine yellow energy. Oh my God, it's all going wrong. It's going wrong, it's going wrong, it's going wrong. I thought you might see that behaviour in your environment. So let's go a little bit deeper into these colours. So individuals with a preference or when they're using fiery red energy might be active, moving, positive and firm direction, have a strong determination that influences those they interact with. They're single-minded and determined in their focus on results and approach others in a direct and straightforward manner. And finally, they might seek an outcome that's specific and tangible. So tell me, when do you think you might need to use this in your environment? When do you need to use these attributes, these behaviours? When do you need them? Emergencies, yes. What else? You're planning. When you're planning, what else? When do you need to use these things?
You stand in your ground.
When you stand in your ground, when else?
Okay.
Or do you think you can?
Time pressures.
Time pressures, yes. Yes, it's a really important colour energy to use when we need to get stuff done. Your teachers, yeah. Okay. Do you ever have to like mark those homework and think, oh, before students? For the next morning, that you have to have those to get it up to you to do, they say. Very, very powerful colour energy. Look at Earth green. People who are using or have a preference for using earth green energy, they view the world through what they value and what is important to them. They are seeking harmony and depth in relationships, and they will defend what they value in quiet or even noisy determination and persistence. They prefer a democratic approach that respects the individual, and they ensure that all individual perspectives are heard and considered when making choices and decisions. So when is this useful in your environment? Meetings? Meetings, yeah. Specifically what in meetings? What when? Sorry, I don't know. Any kind of meeting. Yeah. When you're trying to get people involved. Yeah.
Sport conversations.
Sporty conversation.
Starting. So.
Yes, someone wants.
And you know, maybe that's around the
Yes,
needs to listen to.
yes, so you might need to dial up your empathy or something to deal with parents that are upset about something else.
So you're implementing any change.
Yes, when you want to implement change, absolutely.
I think also when it is in that sort of situation with a parent something, it also helps to deal with those conversations if you see everything through your own values. So that helps to give you something solid to stand on to approach that meeting because you're sure of your own values.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Good. Okay, so think about cool blue energy. People who are using or have a preference for cool blue energy will have a desire to know and understand the world around them, maintain a detached and objective standpoint. They'll value independence and intellect, and they'll think things through before committing to anything. They'd also like information to be accurate and complete before proceeding. So when is this useful? When do you need to dial this up? When do you need to use this in your environment? Sorry? Board meetings, budgeting, making changes,
Compliance checking.
compliance checking. What else do you need to go on this up? We have to make sure this. Yes, just put Johnson to make using data. Yes, so you make it using the right system. Yeah, absolutely. Risk management, I'm sure you guys will have to do with that, using health and safety and things like that in the environment that you're in. And lots and lots of reasons to use it. They are all useful other energies. And let's think about sunshine yellow. People who are using sunshine yellow energy will radiate enthusiasm and encourage participation. They will enjoy and seek the company of others, and they'll approach others in a persuasive, engaging, and inviting manner. They'll also have a desire to be involved, and they like to be noticed for their contributions. So when is some of these behaviours really useful in the environment that you're in? When do you need to use sunshine yellow energy? You're coaching? When you're coaching, yes. People could okay. When do you need to use this? Planning an event. Planning an event, absolutely, yes. What else? Staff training, yes, getting them motivated. Use staff training, yes. Yes, absolutely. Getting people on that journey with you to deliver that change, yes, absolutely. And can I get you to hand these out? Just I thought I'd print those descriptions out, so it's handy for you to have going forward. Oh yeah, split them up. Okay. Yes, please, Molly. Okay. Good. So the blocks, what are they completing now? I've given you all a set of blocks. See these blocks? Yeah. What I'd like you to do is to order these blocks in one these one. I'd like you to order these blocks in the colour that you think is probably most like you at this point in time. You don't know yet, so you'll know the profile. If you think you probably leave the sunshine yellow, then put it at the top. And if you think you leave with your lowest colour energy might be fiery red, then put that to the bottom, anything else in the middle. Put them on your desk in front of you. Just have a bit of some things for a moment. Right. So yes, yeah. We might have think it's hard to find. So I can know I feel sure like fire charge. But I know now. I think a lot of yes. Oh. Don't look there.
Yeah.
You know, if you still parent. It's yeah, I think we don't. You Guys, so I've got a little game for you to play. So what I'd like you to do is there's two tables over here, with loads and loads of cards. And what I'd like you to do is to go and pick 8 cards. I'd like to do 8 cards. One of each colour that reflects the strength that you see in yourself. There's some sort of sensitive on the back of them. So go and pick one of each colour that reflects you and the strength that you see in yourself. And then find one card of each colour that reflects an attribute that you would love to develop. You don't see yourself now, but you would really love to develop. And then I'd like to sit down and discuss in your experience. Bring your 8 cards back to it. Keep the bottom line and then that's one.
Sure.
Such on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah.
You cannot choose because they're all different. They're all different. Yeah, they're all different, aren't they, Simon? Or some other.
Yeah,
Just in case we get the other one.
Oh, that's a bit like me, it's one.
One.
So you have 4 cards, 8 cards, you go 1, you. Not yet, you have cards. 2. So you're shuffling. So it's sorry. Yeah. I check out the box, so. 2. Okay, it's good class. Very good. Right.
First things it's fine. That's really steep. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Oh,
Yeah. Because we like, you know, to get
let's take photos very fast, so that you can remember the later.
Yeah. Yeah.
frequency agreement project that I've supported steadfast and encouraging. But yeah. Sometimes I'm like. They went from Jefferson. That. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I do, I do hear that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
That's I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was very. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right. I can't put it in that and well, I'm just. Sorry. I I've got that I tried to do with that. Yeah. She was like, but she was very, very good.
Safety and time, just right, no. So, yeah, definitely, eventually, I'll be there, but. Let's do this, yeah, I said, it's not a good weekend, we thought that. like. Like I didn't hear. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I spent, yeah. So, really, when you get to put in something, what brings on to a bit by, I want to pass it, so I want to, that's action hands. That's, that's actually one time. She's one ranch, two person, yes, one, there's no that actually, with that. I'm not finished it, same time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah.
See. So, yeah, definitely that. Yeah. Is that going to be one feel needed? I'm not, direct, so then we did, I said, I'm friend. Was a she. And was challenge. Fine. Yeah. My friend is.
She's got. I what's they quite well. Yes. Sure. But not very disciplined, that's fine, into that, I let them run ahead of my class. From some, you know, finding that special. So, I sort of know what that. I spent 7, so what? Yeah. My picture on that, and hands off. Yeah, I was. Yeah. So, you don't want. Now is lunchtime, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to leave those cards on the table. If you have taken a photo of them, great. If you want to take one now to come and I will clear them up while you're at lunch. Lunch is going to be served where, Miles? So where you had coffee this morning is going to be lunch. We're going to have 45 minutes. So if you don't mind being back at about 1:30, that would be great. If you have any questions over lunch, any concern, you know, that you want to ask, Cameron and I are very happy to answer any questions that you might have. But otherwise, enjoy your lunch and we'll see you across that. Okay?
Yeah.
you know, people flying around like. It's just brain dead away that. They're not normal. Do you have much? But, they're fine. Yes. I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you. Coming today. No friend, that been better kids, they're gonna have to say, we get it done. I'll back that, yeah, you're from that, yes, you have to see that. That's a chill,
That's what keep on to the
true. So you hasn't had.
Sure.
Yeah, gee, you know, I remember if I not.
Yeah, I'm seven.
How much that?
What's time? French, but about 169, 3, 3.
So, he will do that. Slash.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
But he just.
Oh, that's probably what I thought.
So it's like, well, it's soon.
That one. Going. Like, give my email address.
Yes, Cameron, have we got, do you need Marvel's email address for the vault, for the profile?
Well, yeah, we need to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the. There's an engineer. So that's gonna. I'm not sure. Tired. But I'm on one, obviously, have we got that one?
A lot of that.
Yeah. But it's.
Yeah, it's, yeah, fine. Yeah, oh, very cool. It's, yeah, great, like, oh, I'm sorry, so, to translate much, just volume of the, yeah, to that line, but. Yeah.
Also,
It is a lot. That's really.
what? It's nice.
Jack, Jack Rance. And
I'm doing it, I don't.
you're supposed to have it. No, it's really.
Just the region, not the I thought thinking. It's in. It's just like ritual we do. Yeah, that was the thing. I'm to time.
It's quite cool. But the fact that, like,